I'm off my phone. Okay.
Cool.
Let's go.
Everybody, should be live now. Hello to our listeners. We're still trying to dot some I's and cross some T's right now, so we're not officially started, but we want to get the people in the room before we get formally started. Hi, Kelly.
Hi. To explain my day, here's a giant thing of cold brew.
Meanwhile, I'm using a lovely mug that I got from a certain somebody for my Coke. So
yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be for your Coke. It could be for more legal things.
Listen. I only use the Coke that you drink, not the Coke that you snort. There's two different things. Take a turn.
Hello.
Oh, welcome to 2021. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got one viewer. Hello. Say hello in the comments.
Yeah.
Come in. How did I know? It's Vinkman.
Hey, Vinkman.
So, all right. You want me to kind of do a countdown and we'll get formally started? Are you good? Are we good?
Yes, because I'm gonna be very caffeinated and shaky until I can get food. So it's gonna be a very high energy episode. We gotta let it through.
Here we go.
So there we go.
All right, I'm gonna hit the record buttons on my end. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, welcome to the first episode of 2021 for Make Mine Mayday, everybody. I'm Zach Joyner, your friendly neighborhood host. Thank you for watching and listening to Make Mine Mayday. But before we get started, formally, I want to give a shout out to our Patreon page, patreon.com/SpideyDude Network. That's patreon.com. As I forgot to hit that button earlier. There we go. All right. I want to share it. All right, here we go. Patreon.
Great.
Patreon.com. We want to also give a shout out to our friend Vinkman. He is one of our Patreon subscribers. He's helping out the channel. Vinkman, we thank you once again for your support. And if you want to see what all the fuss is about, head over to patreon.com/Spidey Network. That's patreon.com/Spidey Network for more information. Perks include that type of shout out at the beginning of our episodes. And eventually, when we get more of a library going, having episodes to our Patreon listeners early. So check those perks out over on the Patreon page. Be sure to check out our episodes of our other shows as well, such as ASM Classics, Clone Saga Chronicles, Spectacular Radio. We just had that big episode on Monday. Definitely want to check that out. And of course, Spidey Experience. But right now we're here to talk about Make Mine Mayday. And if you want your voice to be heard, you can always leave us a voicemail at 818-925-6631. Or you can leave an email at makeminemayday@gmail.com. So be sure to tell us what you're calling about and where you're from. We'll play it live on the respective show. So leave a review on your favorite podcatcher, and we'll do our best to read it on the future episode. For those of you that are listening to the audio version of this particular show, we want to excuse some references to our visual aids and our live comments, as these shows are live streamed on our YouTube page, Twitter, and Facebook. So be sure to go on there and like and subscribe and share on our YouTube page. Just search YouTube for Spidey Dude Radio Network on there. Thanks for listening and enjoy the rest of the show. Of course, with this being a Make Mine Mayday, we got Kelly.
Hello. I have coffee. So speaking of visual aids, for our listeners, I kind of got a gallon of iced coffee. It's not a joke. It's real. We're going to try and make sure I don't drink all of it.
Yeah, I warned her not to drink all of it. Like, then she would really be like Mayday bouncing off the walls. So
I mean, I kind of am now. But I needed it so I could get through today. And we have a lot to review and get through. We're going through issues 6 through 11.
Yep.
And I'm excited. And my phone is going off because it heard me say I'm excited. So thanks, Bixby. And I'm also just excited to be back. So yay! And we actually have a plan. At least for the next 5 episodes. So yay! So I I guess first things first, let's go ahead and start with some housekeeping and kind of explain everything, because I see in the comments that, as Vinkman has said in our comments, our long national nightmare is over. Make Mine Mayday is back. It was never gone. We just, we had like a little break for the holidays, and then I needed some time because work.
2021 is a basically 2020's hangover, and we're all still just trying to figure things out.
2021, like it won. It beat us.
It did. 2020 did win.
Yeah, so that's okay though. So we are back. We've got the plan. Should be at least, I know what we are planning on doing the next episode on Monday, the 25th.
That is the plan.
So you guys we cap off and basically cap off and end this weekend. So yay. So we are hitting back very strong, and we're going to start doing some fan panels as well. So the thing is we're going through 6 through 11 for this issue, and then we're going to kind of sidestep and cover A Next and J2, and we want to do some fan panels in between A Next and J2. So we want our A Next and J2 fans. I know for a fact my friends from Reddit would love to talk about J2, because I do. I also want to go on a rant and start a campaign to make Marvel put the rest of J2 out for digital consumption, essentially, because it's not even on like Comixology. You can't even buy the issues. They're not on Marvel Unlimited. They're not anywhere that you can get them digitally, and it bugs me because it makes it look like J2 ended at issue 6, but it did not. Unless we're just in a crazy world,
it's not a Mandela effect. It's not.
We sure?
I don't know at this point.
Is it a Bernstein-Berenstein situation? Because that's the way they kind of are trying to make me feel, and I don't appreciate it.
Thank you,
but because I do have the copies.
Listen, I'm going to get on the Save Spider-Girl page and find if I need to find out if David Gabriel is still in charge. You know what I mean? Like, we need to find out if he's still in charge of trades and stuff like that, and be like, hey, buddy, help a brother out or sister.
Yeah, help everyone out, all genders of all sorts, whatever you feel you are. We all need to band together and
listen. The world is exactly. Well, the world is the world is uniting under Bernie memes is what I found. So I mean, hopefully we can all laugh through the rest of this 2021 year.
Look, together. I mean, there were a lot of very stylish outfits going on. Like, you had one of Biden's granddaughters wearing a very fancy dress with her Nikes, which was cool. And, everyone loves Michelle Obama anytime she wears anything. And Ashley Biden had on a tux that I personally am obsessed with right now. But ultimately, the biggest fashionista of the inauguration was Bernie in his mittens.
Listen. Even if you're not a fan of Bernie, you got to be here for the memes. Okay, like you got to be all about the memes, like because these memes have been. It's like we needed that as a world. We needed something to meme about, and Bernie's mittens and Bernie, having just being a whole entire mood, just worked.
He had places to go. Like,
listen, my favorite. I laughed out loud at the one that said, "This could have been an email."
Yeah.
I don't know why, because I could see him doing that.
It's the mood of 2021. It's the mood of we're still in a pandemic.
Yes.
I mean, but also too, Bernie just is our cultural, like, what is that word? Not groundstone. I don't know what is it?
He's just like everybody's grandpa. Okay.
Well, he is everyone's grandpa, but like he's also like a manifestation of your mood.
A cultural touchstone. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, cultural touchstone.
Yeah, there we go.
Look, I'm at the point of caffeinated where words will fail me.
But yes, like she says, we do have a plan. We're going to get back to being weekly, not just this show, but also Spider Dude Experience as well. So both shows will be back to being weekly. We're almost done with Spec Radio. We're almost caught up with ASM Classics. For those that missed the announcement, Javi and Jack are going to take that over for season 2 later on this year, and we're really excited about that. And so, we're just got more and more stuff coming. And Voices from the Eerie is something that's definitely going to be talked about. You need to learn more about that in the final episode of Spec Radio.
Cool. Sounds awesome. But I want to talk about my favorite thing ever, Mayday.
Of course. So, here we go.
Let's get the show on the road. So we're going to start off with Spider-Girl 6. Look out for Ladyhawk. So, it's really action-packed when it starts off. And Ladyhawk is kicking butt and taking names, foiling some very sharply dressed goons in Universal horror movie masks and apparently Armani. I'm not sure who wears Armani to a jewel heist, but these guys do. They got some class. I thoroughly enjoy the fact that, they're wearing Universal horror movie masks. Lots of class there. And Ladyhawk seems massively confident with fairly good reason. But to me, having some pre-signed calling cards with your autograph on it when no one knows who you are is kind of a bit much.
Listen, I mean, if you're going to do it, I mean, but it's only
they committed. I mean, sorry, she committed.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's a 20-year-old comic. It's fine.
Spoilers. But yeah, so after that, we cut to May going through her training with Uncle Phil, and May is having a ton of fun, but has kind of figured out the conversation between Phil and Pete had a large part of miscommunications there with letting Phil train her, but May's going to take advantage of it and just not mention that she knows. And so they're training in one of Meredith's, who is Phil's wife's, client's warehouse, and Phil comes up with this great idea of the website. Hold on to that name for future stories.
I understand it.
And anyway, May kind of dismisses the idea and heads to school. She finds Moose and Jimmy discussing the identity of Spider-Girl because for once they're not trying to kill each other. Great. And Jimmy offhandedly advises that, it could be anyone, like Courtney. And of course, Moose first dismisses the idea and says it has to be someone athletic like Davida or May. So of course, they sarcastically make fun of the idea because thank you, Davida, and head to class. It does give May the idea that she might need a new superhero identity for a bit, since she can't really wear Spider-Girl right now because she's kind of forbidden to wear it. It's been taken from her. She's grounded, but hey. So she starts thinking about it, and she goes, you know who I can talk to? I'm going to talk to Franklin. So she goes out, talks to Franklin from the Fantastic Five, and Franklin gives a really good point about it kind of being less about what you wear and more about what you do, though having an identity is important in being recognized. So I also put side note, I really like the schoolgirl crush May starts forming on Franklin here. It kind of goes nowhere, but it's a really cute side note, and I like talking about it. Maybe we can talk about it in a fan panel about May's many suitors. Maybe that could be a Valentine's Day fan panel. Get a break in there between our A Next and J2 and talk about that.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun. Yeah, so we should do that. If you guys want to do that, let us know. Tweet me, DM me, say something somewhere.
Yeah.
I'll find it.
Tell us in the comments. Tell us in the comments.
Yeah, tell us in the comments. But for audio listeners, leave us a review, send us an email, leave us a voicemail.
Yeah,
where to
do
find you.
Do it on your favorite podcatcher, because that's going to be a great way to do that.
Yes. So definitely do that. I think I want to ask Allison, Studio Indigo, because she's very much Team West. So I feel like she needs to be there and argue that. Not that there's an argument, but you know what I mean. Like, someone needs to be there to defend him, because I don't have much of an opinion. So anyway, back to the story. May, in her ninja lady attire, leaves the Baxter building, and Ladyhawk shows up thinking she's got to be something nefarious if she's in all this inconspicuous gear, because you probably shouldn't wear a ski mask if you're trying to save the day. It's really the moral of the story here. So anyway, they fight, because that's just what heroes do when they first meet each other. It's the Marvel way, and they fight.
Marvel.
Yep, they fight. Ladyhawk runs off. May follows her and sees her going to the warehouse that she was training at earlier this morning. So May goes in and finds out that there's 2 Ladyhawks. So now she's fighting them. They're arguing with each other. She's like, what in the world? Like, can we just talk? And, they just keep fighting until Phil comes in and is like, hey, you guys are on the same team. I can vouch for her. You guys need to stop. May then finds out that the warehouse is the Ladyhawks. And they have this very elaborate marketing plan. And their gimmick is they're twins that are going to be one superhero, so they can cover twice the space and be really successful, which isn't a bad plan. But that's their gimmick, and Phil tries to get them to agree to train together, but with Ladyhawk's attitude issues and eternal fights, it's just not going to be a thing. And they kind of remind May that, if she is Spider-Girl, why isn't she wearing her webs? And it kind of brings her down a little bit. And that's the end of the issue.
Yeah, the giant floating head of guilt ends the issue.
Yeah. So, since this is my episode to run the reviews, Zach, I want you to start off on your thoughts of this issue.
So, first of all, great artwork by Pat and Al. They do a great job. I love the design of Ladyhawk. It does really very much invoke the 70s Falcon, which is largely what it's based off.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, when he's in the green and gold version of the suit, there were several different iterations. I know the everybody thinks of the white and red version of the suit, but yeah, love that aspect. I like how Phil has really just done his darndest to try to be a mentor to heroes. I like that aspect of his character. I also like the fact that he says the exact same thing to May of what he wants to do with the place that the Ladyhawks do, and he's like, "Oh yeah, just a wonderful coincidence." It's like, come on, man.
Well, I mean, okay, he wants to be a mentor, but he is not
he's still very immature.
Yes, there's an emotional maturity level that he does not have. That to me, this kind of started we already kind of realized Phil was a little bit unstable and had a bit of a hero complex situation going on. But this kind of just shows you it's kind of okay, it's not just because of May. he's definitely going to find it in other places if he can, because he needs that kind of glory.
Yes.
And I also find that it's interesting to kind of see too. Whereas the Ladyhawks, not that I'm saying that they're doing this for fame and glory, but they clearly have a plan for that, and that takes a lot of ego. Versus May doesn't even have an ego enough to even feel like she needs the webs. She just wants to go out and do it.
Yep.
And this is kind of a good place on showing like really where just kind of her style is. Thanks, Phone. But yeah, so like I really every single time it's hearing me and it's trying to go off. So thanks, Bixby.
Well, if I say "Hey Siri," then I'll have the same issue. So,
but
I also wanted to point out that and I'm going to blow myself up for a second to show the audience. Now, if you're listening to this, you can't see it, but this is the actual ballot for the next title for the book, and they released it in half, because we're at the 6-month mark, and remember this was supposed to be 12 issue maxi series, and then they were going to do another book. So yeah, that it's interesting to see the names on here. We ultimately know who won, but Stinger could have had her own title, which is very relevant with today's MCU. But yeah, the Ladyhawk was one of the characters. They had Argo, Coal Tiger, Dark Devil, Doc Magnus, Mainframe, Thunderstrike, Wild Thing. I know that's your favorite, Kelly.
Yeah,
Earth Century, Stinger, X People, Magenta, Freebooter, Blue Streak, and American Dream. So there was your ballot for issue 6.
There you go. I had
to point that out.
Oh yeah, no, I mean,
looking at our comments, apparently Ryan voted for Stinger.
Ryan, yeah. Hey, I mean, back then I would have taken a Stinger mini for sure. I mean,
yes.
I actually really like. The thing is like I would have liked to have at least heard like what their ideas were for each like startup for those, because I would assume that they would have had to have ideas for that when they put in the marketing to vote.
And this is where you kind of wish that like if Tom had like a lockbox like the Life of Riley guys, where he had like all the memos from that time period like stored in a filing cabinet somewhere. It was like, I wonder if Tom had that. I wonder if Ron has it.
I don't know.
That'd be a great question for Ron on a future episode.
It would be. I just kind of want to know just a little bit, because it would be interesting to hear. I would like to hear those stories, because I actually forgot about the voting thing. But in fairness, originally I was 9. I don't think I voted. If I did, I do not remember.
Yeah, these are. For the record, these are some of the issues that Sarah got me for Father's Day this past year. So I'm definitely enjoying these, having the floppies. Of course, I also have the digests, and not all of them, but most of them. And then, of course, Complete Collection Volume 1. So I know that's what Binkman's using to read it tonight. So our good buddy and Patreon member.
Yep, and also you can get it on Marvel Unlimited.
Yes.
The whole series is there except for J2, which we'll talk about during J2's reviews.
Actually,
I will save that for later.
For those that are watching us on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, for that matter, I actually pulled all the covers from Marvel Unlimited. So that's okay. Ryan's in here in the comments flexing, but do you have a framed up issue 1 signed by Tom?
Ryan, why you gotta flex like that?
It's okay. I don't have original artwork by both Pat and Ron, so Anyway, let's move on. Jeffers has a bunch of it too. So so
maybe we'll do a show and tell flex day for a fan panel at some point. Because I'm trying to think of ideas too on like different kind of fan panels we want to talk about, as I try to break up these reviews, because we do have, what is it, 100? It's like 106. It's not 60,
50 or something, I think.
No, it's under 150. I think it's like 143.
Yeah.
Well, but no, I'm not counting all of MC2 though. So yeah, no, it's we got a lot of review. That's good. It's okay. I'm happy about it. But like, woo.
Yes. So, we want to. Did we want to give grades, or we just want to just move on?
I mean, I'm biased as heck. So everything is an A always, except for that one issue. That once we get to it, I'll ignore it, and we'll move on. So so we're good. And the issue I'm talking about is the weird issue that Tom didn't write.
The Sean McKeever issue, 51.
Yeah, the weird letter.
Yes. Yeah, that was 51.
Yeah, see, and I would have actually been okay with that story had the artist in there, the guest artist, did not draw May in the shower.
Yeah, 16-year-old kid. No.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
So. All right. So, well, I mean, granted, I mean, I remember doing, like, when I was reviewing this back in the day, like, it was kind of hard to grade because, like, naturally, I'm going to give it. There's a curve. Like, I'm probably not going to even.
I don't think we need to grade them. I think we just need to talk about them because clearly, like, this is a show about the series. We love the series. To me, I think that, and it's not just me. Like, there's a lot of people that think that this is a very classic, iconic series that needs to be preserved, needs to be shared still to this day.
Absolutely.
And 10 plus years since the last issue. So it's not a.
It's not like the
graded. We like it.
Right. I think it's really consistent quality because you got really consistent artwork with two incredible artists. You have pretty much the same writer across, except for the aforementioned issue 51, across the entire series. So it's going to be good to very good quality. It's not like the Clone Saga where there's good and then there's really, really bad.
Yeah.
And, it's not like that. It's also not like where we're doing this as we go. There is some hindsight that we're looking at and we're seeing where things are setting up. And it's really interesting to go back and do a series like that too. So yeah, I wanted to make sure before, because I didn't even normally I have the grade banners up, but I
mean, if you want to give it a grade, but to me, like, if you're not giving it an A, I'm going to be mad. So
I gave it a B plus. Okay. But no, honestly, we want to give these our due, and they're going to be. Look, I mean, I don't think I ever gave an issue before, and I could be wrong. Somebody could correct me, but when I did it before and actually did grades, I don't think I gave anything below a B. So I mean, you're right, very much on a curve.
It's kind of like taking your favorite. Trying to grade your favorite student who clearly
or trying to figure out who your favorite kid is, like, legitimately, and it's just not fair because they're all your favorites in different and various ways. Not that I have multiple children that I know of out there, just have the one, but I mean, that's kind of what I equate it to. It's like trying to pick out who your favorite dog is.
There you go.
I mean, so yeah. So we are on to issue 7. I believe
we are on issue 7, called Secrets, or as my nephew calls this issue, Nova.
That's why in the description I put a man called Nova, because I knew that would come.
No, yeah. So my nephew Gabe is now 6 because he turned 6 on the 9th or the 8th. I can't remember. I wish I had a good memory. I mean, I'll remember when it pops back up in my memories on Facebook, but somewhere around there. And he loves Nova, and I don't know why.
You're gonna have to get him the Marvel Legend.
I will have to.
because it's coming.
Anyway,
it's Walgreens.
But yeah, so he calls this issue Nova because they're. And so anyway, we start off with May still in her ninja lady gear, dodging Dark Devil's blasts as she's on her way to save somebody. Oh my goodness. Harrowing. So anyway, Dark Devil continues with his backhanded compliments and jabs at her current fashion and very childish teasing. I'm sorry. Zach, I know you like Dark Devil. I like him too, but it's very,
he's a jerk in this issue.
Very immature. And yes, Ryan, I know he's Richard Rider. But anyway, so we I will save my thoughts on Nova in a second. But yeah, so we cut back to that morning where Peter is apologizing to May for waking her up because he was checking in on her because he didn't trust her, rightfully so. May, she's going behind his back right now, so he doesn't, he does have a good sense to worry. But May is also rightfully annoyed because, she can't really go out as Spider-Girl right now. So why is he being suspicious? And anyway, she talks to her mom about it to try and get through to Pete and how he's acting. And, MJ basically just says, like, look, he's not ready to admit that his little girl is growing up, and this offends May like it does every teenage girl when she hears that she is still seen as a little girl in her parents' eyes. So I'm
gonna have a hard time. I already know. I at least I acknowledge it now when she's 5.
Well, you acknowledge it now, but 5 years from now, you might feel differently, or 10 years from now, you're going to feel differently. So,
I already know.
You'll forget about this conversation during the heat of the argument, and then she's going to pull this up, and she's going to be like, "Dad, what?"
See, you two talking about me.
Yeah, it's recorded. All right.
For posterity's sake.
For posterity's sake, for Gabby. It's here. So she dramatically runs out the door and goes to school. She gets to school kind of lost in thought about how she can get her father on board to allow her to be Spider-Girl when Courtney once again tries to force May into going on a date with Jimmy. I think we know by now I've done enough arguments on how I don't like this. But this is coming from, I actually have a story in high school where I got forced into dating a senior when I was a freshman, and I'm not okay with it because he was very clearly mentally unstable. And that's a fun story for another day. But it's not good for anybody involved to socially force somebody into dating somebody that they don't want to date. Just saying, Courtney.
Disapproving dad stare right now.
It's just, I'm like, you feel like Courtney's sweet and innocent and like harmless, and it's like, no, she's pushy. Y'all forget, like, we all forget she's pushy.
She means well, but she's really, really pushy into people's dating lives.
She needs to have control over everybody, it feels like, and something we forget. But anyway, May slips her way out of the Jimmy conversation once again and gets to class. She goes to lunch when her spider sense goes off, but she can't figure out exactly what caused it. Probably because it's Dark Devil sneaking up, checking in, being a creep like he does. And
this era Dark Devil they're still trying to figure him out, I think, as a bit of a character.
Maybe. Or, I mean, it's fine. It's a part of his character now. He's just kind of creepy like that. He doesn't know how to just ring somebody up. I mean,
yeah, he just shows up.
What he does is say hi.
Exactly.
So she can't really figure out what causes it. Courtney rushes to her, telling her Moose and Jimmy are going to fight again. So, it's a regular Tuesday. And May kind of asks Jimmy about it, and Jimmy goes, "No, we're not going to fight." I don't even know why he feels the need to lie here. This should be an everyday thing. I don't know why anyone's shocked or scared, or find this, very original. Because I think that they've announced that they were going to fight. I think this is the 4th time in 7 issues. But all right, so it's still very shocking, apparently. And May accepts Jimmy's, Jimmy's answer that they're not fighting. So she continues on with her day, goes to basketball practice, just kind of thinking about secrets and everything, when she overhears that no, Moose and Jimmy are going to fight. Jimmy lied to her. So she immediately rushes out, puts on a ski mask, and goes to try and stop Jimmy and Moose. When Dark Devil shows up, and we're back at the beginning where he's teasing her and being a general jerk face. And
I do like one line that he says, though.
All right.
Where he says, "You should know better than to prowl the rooftops dressed like a common burglar, especially when you're considering your predecessor's particular fondness for burglars." I was like, oh, ow. That's just, ow. Dude, low blow. She doesn't understand that yet. Oh.
I mean, she is in high school. I would assume she would understand that.
Well, I meant like the depth of that particular burn.
No, I don't think she quite understood the depth of it. She also very clearly really wasn't listening to him, because she was just like, "I don't have time for your crap right now. Can I go?"
Yes.
Seriously, it's like, hey, because she's getting really, really annoyed over these issues of people just stopping her from doing what she needs to do.
Exactly.
We don't know who you are. And it's like, you know who I am. And I feel this. No, we all know. They knew exactly who she was. She's not trying to fight them. She just wants to go. Just let her go. But no, everyone's got to be nosy. And got to tease and push at her. And right now, she really doesn't need it. So Dark Devil stalls her until Nova shows up. And then he takes the hit, because it's very clear that, she takes, it's very clear that he's kind of playing with her. So he lets her take that hit, just so Nova can see him get hit, so she can fight Nova. Because that's, when you see someone in distress, clearly trying to get somewhere, your first thought is, let's just waste her time. Let's just do it. Let's waste time. Let's go.
Yep.
Anyway, Dark Devil sets this up, and so now May has to try to maneuver away from Nova. And she, and basically she's trying her best not to fight him, but clearly needs to fight him to back him off so she can go. And hold on, I've lost my notes. But it is a bit challenging. She does throw a wall at him and then jumps on his back to play peekaboo, which is a lot of fun. Then we cut back to Jimmy and Moose are having a fight in the park, and Jimmy managed to get a really good punch right in Moose's throat. If you noticed, Moose did not throw the first punch. He was gloating him into it. I kind of have a feeling had Jimmy not punched anybody, there wouldn't have been a fight. Because I think Moose was just kind of playing chicken. This is the way it feels. But anyway, Jimmy, throws the punch like Moose asked for, right in his throat, and causes Moose to start choking. And that stops the fight very, very quickly, because everyone needs to go call an ambulance and try and save Moose. So we cut back to May still fighting Nova. She's, like I said, getting really sick and tired of having to fight the good guys and lying and running around. Like, it just doesn't feel worth it right now. It's just too much drama. I feel this. So too much drama. So she finds a way to shake Nova off, and Nova goes off to save the day somewhere else because he sees a burning building, and Dark Devil comes by to crack a joke. And May realizes that he wanted it to happen. I also do want to say, too, Dark Devil came by to crack this joke and have some fun, which is really hypocritical to everything he had been telling May.
Yeah, I think if
seriously,
yeah,
like he has no social skills. He is a child, but we will find that out later.
Speaking, yeah, Finkman was like, Kelly said that Dark Devil is a confusing character to describe, and I kind of want to see if she can. Oh,
no, we talk about Dark Devil.
When it's time, we will. Trust me.
Right now, I'm going to allow him his sense of mystery, even though I think it's very clear that I'm trying my best not to just like completely make fun of his character right now for how he's acting. Because Zach can see my notes and can see how many times I wrote his name. But for our newer listeners who might be reading along with us for the first time, I don't want to completely spoil
I can see.
The show. I'm trying my best to not, but you know.
These notes are fun.
Yeah.
One of these days we'll have to release them as like a special DVD style commentary. Join the Patreon and we'll put them in the Patreon.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we'll create the Google Doc and y'all can just view it. That's fine.
Yes.
Yeah. my like WTF.
Exactly.
So anyway.
or the place where you go, ugh.
Ugh. I mean, it's still ugh. But yeah, so in talking about that ugh comment, I was like, Dark Devil tries to say this is all May's fault because she's not wearing her webs. Like she has a choice right now. He completely wasted her time. This was not needed whatsoever. She was just minding her business, doing her thing, trying to save her friend. Thanks, dude. Thanks a lot, man. Thanks a lot. Anyway, May rushes to the hospital, and she feels extremely responsible. She couldn't get in there in time to prevent this fight like she had planned. And it's kind of all this guilt that helps resolve her to get her webs back. And that's great and all, but I really don't feel like she should feel like this is her fault because this is very clearly Dark Devil's fault. Because he's being a giant jerk and wasted her time. But it's not the end of the issue because we have a Beast story. We got story 2, The Last Days of Spider-Man. So the next story, we find May. I presume this is the next day. We find her looking through the attic, trying to look for her suit and web shooters when Mary Jane catches her because she forgot to ask her about dessert. Dessert would be really good right now instead of just the iced coffee that I've lived off of all day.
We went to an Italian restaurant and I was like, I want a tiramisu or a cheesecake, but no, I can't.
Why?
Because I was so
off topic, but like I'm hungry, so yeah.
Listen. I was so full that you would have had to get a forklift to get me out of the restaurant. So it was one of those things where it's like, oh, I want dessert, but no, I'm trying to get svelte for the wedding. So that's my dilemma.
Oh, why deprive yourself tiramisu? Don't you have it? Like you should have a dessert stomach. There's regular stomach and then dessert stomach.
Yeah.
To help you burn off dessert stomach.
Yeah. That's your reserves. Completely off topic.
Sorry. Just throwing this out there. We'll have another discussion another day where I talk about like, I'll bring this back up in Web Warriors about how many times we discuss how May doesn't have a problem with food, but then all of a sudden in Web Warriors, you got to eat healthy.
Yes. Yeah. All of a sudden. Because that makes sense.
Anyway. So Mary Jane explains to May why Peter is just so against May following in his footsteps. She kind of goes all through the origin story that we all love and know about how Peter was first using his powers for fame and fortune so he could help his aunt and uncle with their finances. But when Uncle Ben is killed while Peter is out, we know what Peter chooses to do, because with great power, there must also come great responsibility.
The emphasis on there all must also come.
You already know the story where I messaged a purse company because they had the movie quote on the strap, but I couldn't see it clearly. And then I was like, oh no, wait, if I just write this out, I'm going to look like a giant dork and they're going to feel like, oh, she's some elitist jerk and not talk to me. So I was like, you know what would make it like lighthearted if I just showed the movie clip and the comic panel together.
For those that don't know,
they never answered me back.
Yeah, for those that don't know, this
great power comes great responsibility.
Audio from the movie. So there you go. But that's not technically correct. That's
this also didn't come from Uncle Ben technically.
No, it was just
the story. So it was Stan the Man.
It was Stan the Man. So yes,
I'm sorry. I'm very ADHD right now because, again, for our audio listeners, I'm holding up this giant jug of cold brew because no coffee shop should give me a gallon jug of cold brew. Yet they did.
Listen, they knew that you were going to need to power through your day, and they thought, what better power to have in your hands than an entire gallon of cold brew. As I use my lovely coffee cup, it could be a Mayday coffee cup, it could be a Ben Riley coffee cup.
That's the whole point.
It was very thoughtful that I got from Kelly. Again, thank you for the Christmas present.
You're welcome.
We went through this.
It was your birthday present.
Yeah,
although I guess it did because they split the shipping, so sure.
This
one
one came
before Christmas, one came after Christmas. It works.
Listen, just because my sister tried to kick me out 4 days before Christmas, and I was not born until the following week, it's just, it's semantics. Like it's all Christmas. It's like a blob. It's like Christmas, my birthday, New Year's. I'm like, that's why half the time when I was an adult, I was like, we'll just get really hammered on New Year's, and I'll just get extra hammered for my birthday.
All right.
It's just a day. Of course, my fiance then pointed out that I'm 7 years away from 40. Wasn't really happy about that. I'm like, I'm halfway to death. She's like, no, you have to live to 100. I was like, okay, that's fair. So I'll just, cut off my head and we'll do Futurama things, when I'm 100.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
But back to Nova.
Well, we're done with Nova. Ryan can be mad at me, but we are done with Nova for the time being. So we're back on the second story. We'll finish this, and then I'll go on to my ADHD thought of, do you think the coffee bean would give me a jug of coffee in 616?
Yep.
But anyway, we go into, how Pete just really wanted a normal life. And whenever things seem to get close to that, some super menace, as MJ quotes, some supervillain would always get in the way. And Pete would have to do what he had the responsibility to do. But this responsibility would overwhelm him at times. And, there were a lot of times it almost felt like a yearly event of him giving up for a little bit because it just got to be too much. And, but at the end of the day, he can't stay away from it because he knows he has this responsibility to help where he can and save who he can. So this just kind of was his life until the last fight with the Green Goblin that cost Norman his life and Peter a limb. So the memory we get with MJ is the Fantastic Four at the time seems to have picked Peter up from the wreckage of the fight, and Reed did what he could, but he couldn't save Peter's right leg. Reed started working on a bionic leg almost immediately to help Peter get back to web crawling, but while he was working on it and Peter was going through rehab, he kind of realized maybe he needs to really hang it up and just focus on his family. Like May says, it's kind of unfair that just because he gave it up for her, that he's expecting her to give this up for him. Because this is so clearly a part of her and of who she is. It's just not really that fair. So Mary Jane agrees, and she understands that May is doing what she feels is the right thing to do, and it's just kind of time for them to back off a little bit and give her that freedom. And she hands her suit back. And that is it. Dun, dun, dun. We are back to Spider-Girl, so we can say goodbye to Ninja Lady. Until Hoodie Girl. And yeah, so Zach, what are your thoughts on that? You are muted, sir.
It really helped if I hit the right button because I got all these buttons over there on the board. But this is a really fun issue. Obviously, the cover is kind of what happens in the issue, but it's also a pack of lies because she's obviously not in costume. I also love this back cover. And if you're watching us on YouTube, you'll understand this, audio listeners. But it's actually the original Hanna-Barbera advertisements for the Hanna-Barbera 60s cartoons, and they actually have a couple of those on here. So it has Spider-Man, Captain America, Hulk, Iron Man, Submariner. 2 episodes per video, $14.98 a piece. Yikes. On VHS, I think. I don't think this was even DVD. So that's a fun one.
DVDs were just starting during that time.
True.
So it might have, well, no, for 14, it wouldn't have been a DVD.
Yeah.
So it had to have been VHS.
It had to have been VHS.
That would have been a steal for VHS. People forget,
VHSs were not cheap. Just because you could go to the video store and rent them for super cheap, because they paid for themselves after 6 or 7 rentals. But also Power Rangers Lost Galaxy kind of ads took me really way back. But no, I really like this issue because I kind of like that the teen superhero Nova becomes like a Captain America wannabe Boy Scout. That was kind of an abrupt thing, but I'm like, you know what? That kind of works because I'm sure he got with the Nova Corps and they're like, putting him through his paces, but he's an overgrown, bullet-headed Boy Scout that's a jerk to everybody, not just to May. Not just to May. He seems like a jerk to everybody else on the other appearances that you see with him, and so I'm like, I'm kind of here for it. Also, Dark Devil this is probably reading in hindsight of who his lineage is. This is where I feel like, and I'm not going to get into spoilers, but this is where I kind of feel like he's imitating his father, one of his fathers, Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of there for it, but I'm at the same time, I'm like, dude, you've been giving May nothing but grief for the last, where it's issue 7, your first appearance was issue 2, and you've been a jerk on and off this entire time. And it's the same scene twice. And the second time he's just trolling her at that point. The first time I can understand. The second time was just him being a pure troll. And, classic superhero misunderstanding. Really unique in that there's no villains in this issue. and you don't really realize it, because you got the anti-hero kind of with Dark Devil, and then you've got a hero, but he's acting like a jerk with Nova.
Yeah, I think it's just I've reread this so much over the years that I'm just like, now I'm like, yeah, you're right. There is no like supervillain, but then you were like, yeah, there's kind of the anti-hero, and I think the whole point was because at the time you couldn't trust Dark Devil, but like even here though, I still feel like even if this is the first time reading it, you kind of realize by the end of the story that he's just playing around. Like he doesn't mean any ill will, but it's a jerk face. Like,
yes,
it's kind of like, when someone teases you. I was gonna say something about like when a family member teases you, but too much.
Well, I'll have to
something
check
like that.
In my notes, I also made a note of this. This was the I need to check issue 5, but first letters page since issue 4. So that's a fun fact. And they still haven't named the letters page. It still just says Spider Girl across the back. So if you go back and see those good old letters pages, definitely feels old school, but definitely in that realm of early or late 90s Marvel as well. But no, I really liked the bonus feature. I like that that it's Mary Jane that sits there and says, "Hey, you got it. You're a big girl. You got to make your own decisions." And she kind of puts it out of Peter's hands. And I really,
well,
it really feels
the issue is it's like because this is, to me, I think this is very much in character for both Peter and MJ. The thing is like, we don't know what's going on outside of May's little world because this is done in first person. Like you are Mayday in her brain. That's the POV. And so it's kind of like for this one, you really don't know what's going on outside of May's little world. So we don't know what MJ and Peter talking about at the end of the night. I was about to be like, or texting, but this is way before texting. So it's just kind of a thing where you're not sure entirely what's going on outside of that mindset. And I have a feeling Mary Jane's probably giving Peter some hell about the way he's acting. Like, I don't think that she's just letting it sit there and lie. But at the same time, she understands what Peter's going through. She understands what Peter's feeling. And Peter isn't wrong in not accepting this immediately. It's a very dangerous game. He knows how dangerous this is. He doesn't want May in danger. And if he can control that situation a little bit by saying she can't wear it, then he's going to try. Like, I don't think that he's out of bounds or being inappropriate or too strict or quote unquote out of character, because that's something that I'll think I touch base on in the next issue, in issue 9. But on the Reddit page, we had this discussion with some like newer fans that I think didn't start reading this until Renew Your Vows, and so they had that idea of Pete as a parent, and then read this, and they felt like, oh, well, Peter's completely out of character here. He's so strict. He's so mean. He's really not. The thing is, like,
we could go into a whole debate on, is Peter in character letting his wife and child out, putting themselves in harm's way as a family. That's a big question that I feel like it was basically they took a premise and let's roll with it, but does it make sense for the character? And that's a very interesting debate.
Well, to me, I mean, I have my own opinions on that, even with Mary Jane's characterization in Renew Your Vows, but that's another story for another day. The whole thing is, it's just, at least here, though, it's like we had that big discussion, and to me, I would think the most responsible thing, even though his brain is kind of clouded in fear for May, and stuff like that, but he would be that overbearing parent. He would be that, especially because of what he does as his day job. He is basically a CSI forensic analysis for crime scenes. So he goes to these crime scenes, most often murders, and goes to see them every single day. And I mean, maybe it's just because I grew up with an investigator as a dad.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's because I definitely did relate to May growing up with this factor, one of very many. But it is overbearing as a teenager, but you do understand it as an adult. And the fact of the matter is she's also trying to get into this world. So I don't feel like I think like, yeah, right now she might feel kind of annoyed by it and feel very constricted. But I don't think that she, you know, I think she realizes very quickly that that's not, his intentions were not to prevent her from anything or to be overbearing on purpose. There's a purpose to this and there's a reason, and he's not wrong.
And you know, as somebody who's best friends with two police officers, and we've had these conversations, and I've seen how much they've changed as human beings since they became, you know, members of the police.
See things. Yeah, no, I mean, you see a lot. Like, that's the thing is, so I'm also take that into consideration that he was Spider-Man since he was about 15 years old too.
Yeah. And, you know, he's been in this world of fighting organized crime, fighting the good fight under a mask, and then, you know, finding a way to continue that fight after the mask. That's why I think it really was a stroke of genius to make Peter a CSI in the series, because it gives him that same sense of, I'm fighting the good fight, but I'm fighting now with the badge, with the shield, that I wasn't before. And even though they're two sides of the same coin, I mean, considering how many times the world probably is nearly ended when he was Spider-Man and how many it probably ended when he wasn't Spider-Man, of course he doesn't want to see his daughter, A, make the same mistakes, but B, also not create, you know, not be part of the chaos and be able to, his family is his safe place. You know, that's where he can take the, you know, lower the sword and the shield, so to speak, and just, you know, be him. And that now there's this dissonance between the two. And so there's today's word of the day, dissonance. But yeah, I 100% agree with what you're saying, Kelly. I think it's a very astute point. And I think because of that other thing, you know, with the other universe being there. So,
well, I mean, I mean, I assume that every spider probably has some form of PTSD at some point because they go through a lot of traumatic situations. But, you know, Pete lost a limb. Like, that's the thing. It's like Pete, whatever happened in the fight with the Green Goblin, you know, which we never fully, this story is kind of the most that we get out of it. You know, it really is just, it changed him, it traumatized him, and this is still something he's going through. Yeah,
and I think also the fact that it's his best friend's dad, and he's a guy that he's always wanted to help too, and with everything that happens,
and he killed him twice.
He did kill him. Yeah, in this universe, he killed him dead twice.
Yeah,
twice. Yeah. So we wanted to kind of do some comments right quick. So
before I go into 9 real fast.
Yeah. So in our comments section, we got Neil. Hi, Neil. He says VHS was the ultimate method of price gouging through the early 90s through early 2000s. Thank you.
Actually, VHS gouging was more like in the 80s when it first happened, and they were like charging like $60 for a VHS. And that was why rental companies like Blockbuster even popped up in the first place, because it was cheaper to do rentals. And someone realized that.
Yeah, you could buy, you know, your early cost, but you could pay that off if you charged $5 for a rental. six or seven rentals, and guess what? It's paid for, and then after that, it's pure profit.
It didn't even start out at they were charging like $20 originally to start out with a rental. That's one reason why I haven't gotten super mad at the current situation of putting new movies out to rent for $20 because they're trying to recuperate their costs that would have been in the theaters anyway.
Yeah.
And the fact that back in the 80s, a new rental was about $20 to start off with before they slowly brought them down. It's not that bad because I distinctly remember it was I think it was $8 for a new movie at Blockbuster, and then anything that wasn't 4 weeks old, that was the $5 rental.
Yeah, and then any classic movies were $2,
towards the end.
Yeah, especially because I remember. Well, we had Hastings.
We're showing our age.
Yeah, we had Hastings, and then Hastings, R.I.P. It survived longer than Blockbuster, but but yeah. By the way, Venkman did give me a correction. Those 60s Marvel cartoons were Grant Trey Lawrence Animation. The only Marvel show.
They weren't Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah, weren't produced by Hanna-Barbera. Were the 1967 Fantastic Four show with Herbie, and Fred and Barney meets the Thing, which you just don't torture yourself. So Neil did have a question for either one of us.
Okay.
He asks, for either Kelly or Zach, do you think that Nova's MC2 characterization is better than his post-annihilation characterization of PTSD Space Cop Soldier, or the other way around?
MC2 is the best world, so I like his characterization here a lot better. But I don't really relate to him in any world. Zach, I'm hearing feedback, just FYI. Thank you. So I'm hearing I don't really still hearing it. Sorry, I'm still hearing it. Okay. So it's anyway, I don't know. I don't really have an opinion on Nova to begin with, because he's just not one of my go-to characters. But if I had to choose, I would choose MC2 characters any day. They're just better and not as messed up.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I feel I like the character. Okay, I mainly read him in early New Warriors, so that's kind of where, when I think of Nova, that's where I'm at with it, and the few appearances that we had with him in Amazing Spider-Man. So I'm not, and I'll freely admit I haven't broken down and read Annihilation. I hear it's fabulous. I hear it's pretty much the basis for Guardians of the Galaxy and everything like that. So I really anticipate going back and doing that on Marvel Unlimited. I just haven't done it yet. But yeah, I like Nova fine. I have a very big soft spot for that really awful it was the summer storyline, I think in 91 with Round Robin, the Sidekick's Revenge, when I think it was Danny Fingeroff that wrote it. And he came in and filled in for Michelini, and they had Nova and Darkhawk and Punisher and all these other characters. So that's where I kind of had my affinity for Nova, was through that storyline. But yeah, Nova can, he's definitely, he was a bit of a jerk and a bit brash when he was in New Warriors, but it's an 11 in this issue. So definitely we'll come back to comments here later and get back to our review.
Well, I do want to mention, just we will mention, because I was kind of pretty sure that you weren't quite right on the Fantastic Four stuff, and Venkman's right. Herbie is from the 1978 cartoon.
Oh, my bad.
So I will mention that just to try and keep it together. But we do need to try and stay on topic. Unfortunately, Neil, your comment is not on topic, and I might ban you from asking irrelevant comments again because it's Neil.
Oh,
but
Neil.
yeah, also still hearing the feedback.
See, I'm not hearing anything on my end. That's really weird. So
I'm hearing it's a delay, and then I'm hearing myself all pixelated like earlier.
Odd. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, guys, for the technical stuff, but like it's pretty bad. All right. And now I can't hear it, but now you muted yourself. Got to figure this out. So anyway, let's start off. Let's continue with Spider-Girl 9. Yeah, Neil. So Neil put in the comments. I do want to go in there that the audience can hear it. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, the sound. I think it is coming from the soundboard. For our only Make Mine Mayday listeners, anybody who hasn't listened to other Spidey Do Network podcasts recently, Zach got a new soundboard for Christmas. We are still trying to figure it out and play with it. So apologies on these technical difficulties. Yeah. So, but apologies. We are working it out. We will work it out. But we are still going through the motions. So sorry about that, guys. All right. So issue 9, training matters. Peter is finally training May. Yay! But be careful what you wish for, because he is not going easy on Mayday. He's been waking her up at 4 a.m. to train her for the past week, and it's really taking a toll, which I can imagine. So yeah, I know this life. This is where I need to give May some of this giant thing of cold brew, because she definitely needs it this issue. So it's been taking a toll on May. She's falling asleep at breakfast. She goes ahead and gets to school. This is the Killer Watt issue. Thank you. Visual aids. Zach brought up the wrong issue, although it is the right photo for what we're talking about because it's some father-daughter time. But this is for Killer Watt. We don't need to talk about Mr. Nobody just yet. So anyway, May gets to school and she sees that Jimmy's win has really gone to his head. Whew. So yeah. Vinkman's saying we didn't skip issue 8. We talked about issue 8. Oh wait. Oh no, I did skip issue 8. Zach, I'm gonna let you take issue 8 because I did not go through it. Apparently. But I thought I read it. I'm like, I don't have it here.
You did, but this is where the two of them reconcile. Like this is where Peter and May kind of reconcile. So we open the issue
today. So sorry, guys. Oh my goodness.
No. So Mayday is, kind of going out and we open the issue with her going out and web slinging. She's enjoying her time. So, Peter, like,
this is what happens when all you have is one sandwich and a half-gallon of iced coffee.
No,
I went too fast for my britches. I apologize.
So basically, MJ's like, there's a problem with the fall line, and everybody's in panic mode. So, she's like, do you want me to kind of soften your dad up? And like Peter's like, wait, are y'all plotting against me? What's going on? So the two of them go. We then cut to Rikers Island, where Mr. Nobody visits his favorite crime boss, everybody's favorite crime boss, the Kingpin of Crime. And, he's like, he can still reach anyone anytime, even despite his incarceration. We then get Jimmy at the Queens County Courthouse, where there's a big discussion with his aunt, who is the district attorney.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. Oh my god, so crazy. Sorry.
No, you're good. So, they're kind of sitting there talking with his parents, and they're like, dude, you shouldn't have been fighting. This is a very serious thing, and so, that's when his cousin, as I wink, nod for those that have read J2, it's like, dude, I'm a lot tougher than I look, which is kind of fun. Meanwhile, Moose's parents and so Peter's like, look, I heard about your nephew. He goes to school with my daughter, and so Peter's trying to like provide some help any way he can, and then all of a sudden, Crazy 8 shows up, and he's being paraded down and through the courthouse for his trial, and everybody's kind of freaking out. Then, as he's being put in for his arraignment, Mr. Nobody shows up and frees him. So then the courthouse starts going crazy. Peter's spider sense goes off. May's spider sense goes off. Courtney runs in the bathroom, and May's luckily just put on her mask, and she starts flying out the room, which this comes up as a plot point later. So Peter, interacts with his daughter in the Spider-Girl gear. He yells "duck," and he's not happy. Like he's like, you should really watch who you're shoving, Spider-Girl. So, needless to say, Crazy 8 and Mr. Nobody are like, team up? ? So they start up, and like Jimmy's like, dude, I'm secretly the Avenger J2, but I can't do my transformation thing without blowing it. So what a mess. So, and I love his thought line is, I bet somebody like Spider-Girl doesn't have any problems like this. If you only knew, Jim, if you only knew. So, nevertheless, Peter is trying to protect the civilians, and she starts fighting. She's fighting the baddies while he's getting everybody out of there. But Peter then circles back around and actually helps save May from Mr. Nobody, because Mr. Nobody's got his his assault rifle, and he's ready to use it. So he's like, thanks. She's like, thanks for the assist, stranger, but I could have easily knocked out this town on my own. So buzz bombs get thrown. Probably not. Womp womp. So yeah, so they Mr. Crazy 8 throws some razor bombs, nearly blows and completely destroys a piece of fine furniture from the courthouse that she was using to shield herself. And so two of them start fighting. May's trying to protect the innocents, because Mr. Nobody's like, fine, I'm just going to turn the gun on everybody else. So she grabs his harness, and then one of my favorite scenes of the entire series, like Peter's standing there, and Mr. Crazy 8's got all his 8 balls, and he's ready to throw them, and he throws all the 8 balls at Peter, and he's like, he's like, oh gee, you know how to hurt a guy, and he literally pulls a Andrew Garfield, which what Andrew Garfield will do later in ASM 2, like, and grabs everything really, really fast and throws the 8 balls right back at him.
Yeah, I mean, this did come out before that, so this could be, I don't think it was a nod, but yeah.
So needless to say, they get back to the room, and J2's very upset that he could have been hanging out with Spider-Girl. So needless to say, we cut back. So Mr. Mansfield and his parents decided not to have agreed to drop all charges against Jimmy. So Jimmy's a free man. He's free to go. So then like Peter like sneaks up on May and goes, I believe you wanted to chat. So they're going to have a bit of a conversation. Meanwhile, back at Rikers. So Kingpin's like, I was waiting for your report. Oh no, you're not Mr. Nobody. You're Dark Devil. So Dark Devil basically trolls Kingpin and says, sorry, things didn't really go your way this afternoon. So thanks to a young associate of mine. So then we get to the final scene of the issue, which is Peter's having a very stern talking to with May. And he's like, look, it can be extremely dangerous. It's really frustrating. And, you know, maybe I was wrong. And I realized it when I saw you in action today. It's my job to help you learn to use your powers with great power, because he's been given a great responsibility. So, and help become the best Spider-Girl that she can be. Kelly, I'll let you go from there.
Yay. Since I don't want to talk. All right. Have you muted me? Thank you. All right. Cool. Because I don't want to cause anybody any kind of craziness from what I'm hearing, which is my feedback. But yeah, no, I feel really horrible because I remember like I was reading 9 and I was like, wait, this story, this story is like in this time, right? Oh no, maybe it's a J2 story and I'm forgetting. No, so thank you, Vinkman, for calling me out. I completely skipped it. But I love this issue. It's kind of like where we were talked about where MJ kind of figures it out first, but because May has to wear the webs, because May has to wear the webs here since she got them back, and Peter kind of sees her in action, it kind of helps him go, okay, no, I need to help. I need to help train her. And so he agrees to, and I like this because it's kind of, May's gonna be his little girl. In this world, she's his only daughter. She is the firstborn, and technically right now the only child. So it's hard, I think, as a parent to let your child grow up and have to admit to that. But now he's kind of seeing, okay, if I can't stop her, then I can at least help her fix, like maybe help prevent some of my mistakes, even though he's still not going to admit to some of his mistakes because it's still Peter. But yeah, so I don't know. I love this issue. It's great.
So sorry. I'm having to use the mute feature on the actual software, so there's a lot going on, which I hate because I know Kelly's hearing feedback, and hopefully I don't understand why mine is doing it that way. So is it better now?
I can still hear myself a little bit, sort of. Okay, I hear like the feedbacky sounds, but I'm not hearing myself, so maybe that's a little bit better, guys. Our viewers, comments. Are y'all hearing it?
While I'm talking, and like I say, we're gonna let briefly. I'm gonna go through my notes if you want me to, and then I'm gonna let you have the reins back again with the next issue.
No, go through it. Like I said, I'm still terribly. It was so funny. I was literally reading issue 9, going like, oh yeah, I must have already written issue 8, or no, I'm thinking this must be like, I think the story I'm thinking of is like in J2. No.
But J2 was in it. See, that's what you were thinking. You were thinking because J2 was in it. So
there's also in J2 when we get to that episode where we talk all about J2, we do touch base on this story.
Yeah. So yeah, because I think there is some crossover between the two. We get the other side of the other half of the story a little bit too. So yeah, Jimmy is J2's cousin, for those that don't know. So that's definitely in universe thing, which is kind of fun. Okay, so really like this issue. Mr. Nobody is one of my favorite, and Crazy 8 are two of my favorites. So seeing them team up in an issue was really fun. I remember seeing this cover, but I never read this issue until I got the individual floppies. Or no, it may have been when I got the digest, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I like how there's the actual dialogue boxes. I love that aspect of these, especially early days MC2 comics, because it really does harken back to the yesteryear. Great artwork as always, but it's one of those things where I'm really like it a lot. I like how I like how yes, there's a bit of a crazy setup. It's great, it just happens to be happenstance that May's there, but I like how Peter still has a little bit of kick buttness to him. I love, like I mentioned in the recap, I love the scene where he catches all the 8 balls and throws it back at him. Great scene. It just kind of the smirk that Pat drew on his face, like, I know something you don't know. Love that. I like that they address the Jimmy Moo situation through legally, because that's exactly what would happen if this was real life. And so I know that brings a realness to the world. I think that's very subtle in its way of doing things. So definitely enjoy it. I'm not going to give it a grade because we've already decided we're not giving grades, but yeah, this one's a highlight of the issues that we're doing. So, and with that, I'll turn it over to you, Kelly.
Yay! All right. Sorry about. It's going to sound really weird audio-wise in the delay, but we're trying to fix this because this is. I'm a little worried about the audio right now. So hopefully we get it fixed and it's okay. So now on to issue 9, Training Matters. Sorry about that, y'all. Still feeling really silly about it. But hey, that's what happens when you do a live show and when you work 10 hours a week. So on to Killer Watt. So Peter is finally training May. Yay! But be careful what you wish for. Like I said, Peter's been waking May up since 4 a.m. to train for the past week, and it's taking a toll on May because she doesn't get a whole gallon of cold brew since she's a teenager. And it's in the 90s, and I don't know why any coffee shop would give a single person a gallon of coffee. Because, yeah, you shouldn't. You really shouldn't. But anyway, May gets to school and sees that Jimmy has let his win from his fight and his dismissal from his court case go to his head. It's really cringy, especially after last issue, where you think that they've made peace. But, Jimmy's got to let this ego thing happen because he's really, really insecure about himself as a whole. So May goes to train. So anyway, it's cringy. So then we cut to May training with Phil at lunch, not telling him that her dad is also training her. She's really sluggish and tired. But she doesn't want to dump Phil's training sessions because he's been there since the beginning. It's just, this is a lot, and she really does want to be honest with everybody. So she's walking back to school when she hears the sirens of the police cars as they are going to stop a supervillain named Killer Watt. May quickly changes and goes to stop Killer Watt. Fight ensues. May gets a little overconfident, and Killer Watt manages to catch her by surprise and shock her by using the ground. Dark Devil comes back and Dark Devil shows up and scares the villain away. May realizes she kind of blew it and heads back to school. So Jimmy, once we're back at school, Jimmy is still being a tool and exaggerating his fight with Moose. And Moose hears it and isn't cool with it, which I wouldn't be either. Especially because, again, in issue 8, it was supposed to be done, but Jimmy can't let it go. So May, May lets off some steam after school, or May's letting off some steam, getting some solo time in the school gym when Brad shows up and asks or tries to ask May to a concert, but Jimmy's got a Jimmy and just ruined that. And that's legitimately my notes is Jimmy's got a Jimmy. Because that's just what he does. He's got to ruin everything. Not that I like Brad, but yeah. So, Jimmy. Anyway, Phil and Peter are both at work, kind of tiptoeing around what they're really doing, because Peter's yawning because he's also tired and saying, well, maybe I should work out with you, Phil, during lunch. Because Phil's saying he's going to the gym. And it's awkward. So while they're being awkward, they see a news segment on the TV while they're working of a female superhero saving the day. And they kind of both get a little worried, but turns out it's just Stinger. So it's not May. They're not that worried anymore, and it's kind of a relief. But I think it feels like both of them are scared the other one is going to find out that May is out there. Because there's a lot of miscommunication when it comes to Phil and Pete, it seems like. So anyway, so we catch back up with Spider-Girl after school because she is swinging around solo. And Dark Devil gives her a hint to go to the concert that Brad was trying to invite her to. Not that he knew that, but, we know that as the reader. So turns out Megawatt is going to take up revenge on this band for kicking him out. Turns out the band is kind of sucky people who treated their roadies like crap. They also used cheap equipment, and in some kind of strange accident, Killer Watt got his powers through trying to set their band up. So as Killer Watt goes in for his revenge, May tries to stop him. Everyone at the concert is watching this unfold, and Moose is really, really concerned because he thinks Spider-Girl is Courtney. After the last issue, when he saw her go into the bathroom and Spider-Girl come out. And he's really, really concerned. So anyway, they're fighting. May gets the best of Killer Watt and subdues him. And she saves the day in front of this large audience. Looks really cool. And she goes off to find Dark Devil to thank him for the tip. She's now motivated and determined to get a good night's sleep to keep up with her training. Because her motivation's reinvigorated and she's ready to go. She's ready to kick butt. And that is the end of that issue. So, thoughts, Zach?
All right. So I did something different. Hopefully the feedback's not nearly as bad because I think.
All right, let me try. Yes. No feedback. Yay!
Okay, so I'll tell you what it is. So there's a built-in recording feature into the board. And I've now realized when we're using StreamYard to not use the recording feature in the board because you guys feedback. So because what's happening is it's having to double up the audio, and I'm hoping that it's not completely ruined to everything else. But I will Frankenstein it because it was fine through my earphones in the board. So whatever the first half is, I will Frankenstein it, and I'll actually work on that tonight. So because I've had enough Coke that I'm going to be up like you for a long time.
Sleep is for the week.
Sleep is for the week, yes. And I get to go taste cake tomorrow, so I'm really excited.
Ooh, cake.
It's the fun parts of wedding planning. All right, so Killer Watt. Goofy villain, but I love him.
Okay, he looks goofy. I do like his backstory, and I like him as a villain. He just looks of his time.
Yes, very much. Love the artwork here. I think this point Pat was already kind of in a groove, but I think by this issue you really start to feel he's starting to I think have a real feel for the characters because this opening splash page for those that are listening. I mean, now granted, having now met, and I use air quotes when I say met Pat, It looks very much suspiciously like Pat Olliffe, but no, definitely.
He had no he plead the fifth there. Okay, we cannot confirm nor deny.
Yeah. Love this issue. Very much takes me back. Also one of my all-time favorite Bagley, and I'm going to definitely scan that in. Spider-Man for the official Marvel credit card back in the 90s. Takes me back. But no, love this story. I like that Jimmy gets the big head because he really is a nerd. Because this is what a nerd would do. I remember, and this, and I'm gonna tell a.
You know what? No. It's not what a nerd would do. It's what a jerk would do.
Well, okay. So
it's what a nice guy TM would do. He's sitting there on the Reddit red pill forums, talking about how he can't get a girl because the jocks are stealing them from him, like he's entitled to their attention and their time. He is still way in the wrong here.
I'm not saying he's in the right. And look, having been a teenage boy in the 90s, I understand where his head was. Not quite in the 90s, but not too long after this. I remember being in 8th grade and having to stand up to one of those jocks, and everybody calling me by my middle name, but using the word Balboa. But it was fun. It was that. To have that adoration. So I get where he gets the big head, because that's not him, except we've seen that he tries too hard. And I understand trying too hard because I was one of those guys that sometimes tried too hard in high school. I wasn't suave and debonair like I am now. Yeah, that's a joke. Not suave.
All right.
I like that Killer. Look, I like the fact that May kind of is still sowing her oats a little bit, and it definitely, she makes her mistakes, and I like that. Sometimes it felt like with Peter, outside of like the Doc Ock fight in the early days, like Peter always won,
Yeah.
So definitely, I really enjoy the where both guys know what's going on, but they just don't they don't talk to they're not communicating with each other effectively. So there is. I mean, I also kind of like the fact that Daredevil's trying to get her confidence back up now that she's back in the webs, and now that she's not operating like a burglar.
He's got a great way of showing it.
But now then at the end he's like, you shouldn't revel in such a an insignificant win. But
yeah, I mean, she really shouldn't. Like, that's the thing. But it's also like, this is kind of her first real win on her own. Yeah. And it was done in front of a very decent sized crowd. So she's definitely starting to make a name for herself and figure this all out, but it's she also still has a long ways to go.
Absolutely. Also, for those that have the floppies, I remember when this headline came out. For those that are seeing us on the visual aid, or not listening to us on the audio version of the show, Spider-Man movie web that was Untangled. That's when they announced got the rights.
Yep.
Spider-Man, and so very much a time capsule when you get these floppies, but they're fairly cheap. They're a little bit more, about 50 cents more than the cover price of $1.99. Look, this issue, I actually liked, the fact that Moose kind of had to put Jimmy in his place and said, dude, like, got lucky. Like, move on. Stop being.
Well, I mean, that's the whole point. Like, I mean, I think as we're going through these reviews, you can kind of see that I do get very annoyed with Jimmy and with Courtney and with Davida, which I probably shouldn't. Like, I've been there, and yes, they're good friends, they're good people, are good characters, but the thing is that they're idiots. Like everybody, no, because like I've had people come to me and they're like, yeah, I'm reading this, but like May she keeps flaking on her friends all the time. Like she's just, I understand why they're mad at her, and I'm very much like, no, you see, like she means well, and I'm like, I'm sorry, because to me, they're not like, they are very much realistic teenagers, very much self-absorbed into their own little world, and May is kind of getting a world beyond that. So I do need to always pull back that criticism a little bit and go, well, they're teenagers in their own world. They don't know everything May's going through. They don't know what she's doing. But like at the same time, I'm sorry, Jimmy, until he gets Heather.
Heather.
I can never remember Heather's name. But whenever they can get Heather, like once he finally gets Heather and they're out in the open, then he mellows out and he's a lot better. But like this thing where he's really trying too hard to impress May and just kind of trying to be something that he's not, it really bugs me, because it's not necessarily like he's not coming across as a very insecure person. He's coming across as a giant jerk. And very much egotistical and very much like, I deserve this, so I need this. When it's like, that's not your call. Like, you don't need a girl. And you don't deserve anybody's attention. So, like, don't act that way. And I understand. Like, I get it. But it's annoying. It's almost as annoying as Courtney trying to really push it when it's very clear. Like, she's not taking May's feelings into account when she's doing this. Because it's very much like, it is a low-key intimidation factor of passive-aggressive, like, well, no, you need to choose Jimmy because Jimmy's been there for you. No, she doesn't. Like, that's not...
Yeah, no, that's not how that works. Look, and that's where some of that is also teenage brain, if I'm there for the person, and it's also, definitely the movies of the era and stuff like that. Like, I can understand a little bit of it having gone...
It's wrong, though. That's the thing. The movies say that that's not cool.
Yeah. Well, guys don't always learn the right lessons. And sometimes guys just, we have hard heads. I get it. No, obviously with hindsight, I understand it and see it. But when you're in that fog of, of hormones and stupidity, I think back to my younger years, and I'm like, God, you were a moron. You just were a moron. And I get it. So no, I completely understand.
There's a lot of patriarchy, even in this. And I think the thing is like, ultimately the writing is kind of showing you that this is silly. It's one of my things on it is that like this very much does not have that kind of like the patriarchy is good situation, like stick to the status quo. Like it doesn't have that here, without it being like too super preachy. To me, this is like a really like ultimately Spider-Girl is a very much true to feminism book, because to me it's not the thing about feminism is it's not all like girls rule the world. It's feminism is just they have the same opportunities and they're treated as equals and they're seen as equals. And that's the whole point of this. I mean, as much as I am all for Themyscira and girl power because men suck. Sorry, Zach, they do. That's kind of a it's kind of a thing here. And I really do appreciate the series for that, because it's very much a trailblazer in that kind of aspect.
Yeah, when you get to like when you get to Season of the Serpent and you get to Marked for Death, when she is saving the entire world basically on her own, there is some the empowerment aspect of May. And it's something that pops up gradually, but those are like I remember that moment is where May starts to kind of feel like she's coming into her own.
Yeah.
And this is very much a story of the going from adolescence to adulthood, and May's having to grow up much faster than the rest of her friends. And I kind of also think back when this was written back in 99, 98, 90, yeah. And I'm like, okay, we remember the world before 9/11, but for a lot of people that was where shattering of innocence. And they had this bubble that they existed in where they could be completely self-absorbed, and suddenly there's a big bad world outside and you get slapped in the face with it. And
I mean, I think we all knew that there was bad because this is right after Columbine. This is right after a large amount of domestic terrorism that we did not outwardly call domestic terrorism, which we should have.
Yeah.
But anyway,
but we can get really deep in the weeds here. Let's get to issue 10.
Yeah. No, I mean, all I was going to say is just I understand what you're saying. I think it's again, I will always and forever be annoyed. I was annoyed when I first read it because I was like, man, he's being a jerk. And I'm annoyed, but now there's extra levels of why I'm annoyed. And I just, there's just layers. But then it's also, again, as stated earlier, I do quite often get this whole why do you get so annoyed with them? They're just, they don't get it. May's kind of being a flake and being bad. And I'm like, don't you dare.
Yeah,
don't you dare. She's perfect. They suck.
Okay. Yeah. Speaking of May doing her best Marty McFly impression, as I put in the description for this episode.
Yeah. As we go back, we're down to the last 2 issues. I'm going to review them together because they are a 2-parter, and it is the first multi-issue in the series.
Yes.
And it is called the first issue is called Father's Day, and like the cover shows for our viewers, the audio listeners, if you know issue 10, it's got Spider-Man and Spider-Girl swinging together. It's very much about its issue.
Oh man, I remember seeing that on the shelf and I was like, I have to buy this. It's Spider-Man and Spider-Girl, and literally the crease. If you look closely on my copy, it's very much I've read this so many times that there's literal crease marks from the times I've flipped through it, and it's been a very well read issue. Let's put it that way. All right, Kelly, I'm shutting up.
All right. So we start off with May stopping a carjacker. She's doing pretty well, but gets some help from her dad towards the end, and she's kind of annoyed that Peter helped. And even though to me it seems kind of clear that it was more Pete was just doing it because he wanted to. It was kind of I can imagine just for a dad, it's probably hard to watch while his daughter goes out on her own. So he kind of did what he wanted to do there and just uses the excuse that, hey, it's 6:15, you got to go to school. So they kind of let that go. And May gets to school and Brad runs up to her begging to stop Jimmy and his ego, which I feel you, Brad. Don't like Brad towards the end. But right here, he makes a lot of sense. We got to stop Jimmy.
Brad was definitely love interest B for May.
Yeah. Well, right now, I think he's love interest number 1. Just towards the end there, we don't like him. We'll figure it out later. There's a reason. It's a good reason. Very relevant reason right now. Anyway, so Jimmy almost gets what's coming to him by some other bullies when Moose kind of lets that slide, but then has a go at teaching Jimmy himself, because this is definitely a lesson he needs. But Courtney runs up and is like, oh no, don't do it. And because Moose has a crush and thinks she's Spider-Girl, he stops. Because Moose is Moose. And ultimately, I don't think Moose ever really truly wants to do violence. He just wants to be the big man on campus. There's a lot more to that too, which we will find out later. But this is kind of the inklings of like, oh yeah, he really doesn't want to be the bully. He just is annoyed by Jimmy, which fair. So that is that at school. So May is swinging around during lunch because Phil has a dentist appointment and finds Franklin cruising around. And since she's kind of developed this little crush on him, she goes, swings over and says hi and jumps into the vehicle, the hovercraft. Fantastic car. Jumps in and says hi. So Franklin tells May Spiral is back, and well, as much as she's ready to go out and help fight and find him, the rest of the Fantastic Five doesn't really want her to join. Womp womp. I wrote womp womp because that was when we started talking before we started recording. So
Sorry.
Oh my, that sounded so bad in my ear. Oh my God.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for it to be that loud.
Oh God. It was distorted. It sounded like demons.
It was supposed to be the womp womp.
I know.
Oh man. All right. No more soundboard for me tonight.
No more soundboard.
I'm banned.
Yes. Can't physically stop you, but I'm gonna just like guilt you into not doing that again. Anyway, yeah. So womp womp. I like lost that too. So anyway, but too bad on what Johnny wants, because May saw where Spiral was according to Franklin's little map that he had in the car, the GPS, I guess. And May starts going in that direction and sees an explosion. So clearly May is in the right place. She finds Spiral trying to go back to his home world and jumps on his back like a spider monkey, Twilight reference.
Or Talladega Nights.
Well, Twilight came before that.
Is it?
I think so.
I thought it was. Yeah.
Anyway, the gift that keeps on giving. Thank you, Robert Pattinson, for the spider monkey.
He's Batman.
He is Batman. And he better make a spider monkey reference in Batman. Just saying. But anyway, she jumps in right as the portal is taking Spiral, and they're off. Where'd they go? May doesn't know, but we kind of figured this out from the cover. So May finds herself on the floor of the warehouse, not quite sure where Spiral went. Weird, but she's pretty late for class, so she starts heading back. And when she gets there, she finds her dad, but younger. What?
Untold Tales of Spider-Man, Peter Parker, in fact.
Ooh. So May kind of doesn't really know what to think. Really freaking out. She hears Flash and Peter arguing and hears that he's dating some girl named Betty Brant, and she's like, who is this Brant bimbo? Which, May.
It makes me laugh every time. I'm sorry.
It's these little things, like, the thing is ultimately, like, the voice is really good, but there's little things in the early days where I'm just like, and this was written by a man. Like bimbo and time of the month comment from earlier.
Vita. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, anytime you ever want to get a stick in Kelly's craw, just bring that up and she will go on a rant. Trust me.
It's just bad. It's so bad. Anyway, I'm gonna try not to go off on a rant here. I did have a rant in my talking here because I was just like, don't do it. Just like, I wrote just ease, because it's cringy. I've never really heard another woman call another woman bimbo in my life. It's not very empowering of you, May. Don't do it. You don't even know the girl. Like,
now, granted, is she crazy? Yes, we know that.
no.
Okay, early.
And also too, I will. In fairness, Betty Brant goes through a lot. We are currently in the 616, where she had to quit school and get her GED so she could go to work to support her family. Like, just leave Betty alone. She had to overcome a lot.
She did. No, to be fair, if you ever read, I think it's issue 13 of Untold Tales, it really does delve deep into like Betty's backstory. Like her mother falls horribly ill. She quit school to become Jameson's secretary. And frankly, Jameson had no business hiring her as a secretary, but he still did. So you kind of see that heart of gold Jonah there. But yeah, you're right. She did go through a lot. All right, we're digressing.
Sorry, no, I know. I just am just have to throw that out there because I hate that comment and need to talk about that comment, but also explain why. I guess, for just just to explain it. So anyway, May is understandably freaking out. And Peter sees her and kind of sees that she's gone pale and just asks her if she's okay. And she introduces herself as May Day. So Peter offers Miss Day a tour around school because clearly she's a new student. I kind of believe that his spider sense had to have gone off, kind of like Into the Spider-Verse, where he realized that like something's different about her. But I don't know. Who knows? It helps plot. So there you go. And okay, look, if Bertoni shows up with the eggplant emoji, I'm out.
That would be the topper of tonight's episode. Just the
for our audio only listeners, there is an inside joke with me and Bertoni about eggplants and how they look a lot like a Green Goblin outfit because of colors, and then therefore it became Osborn Thirst. It's very complicated inside joke with many, many different layers. And
so many layers.
In our live stream right now, Vinkman wrote in the comments, right now Bertoni's Betty Brant sense is going off. And I just have to say, if he just shows up like that, I'm out.
Well, we've said his name 3 times, so he's not Beetlejuice. We know that now.
Yeah, we do know that. That's good.
And Neil also hates that he enabled the joke. Thanks, Neil. Yeah, I remember just waking up.
I'm sure everyone thinks that like alcohol was involved there, and it wasn't. Like that's just me sober.
I just remember waking up next morning going, it was kind of like the meme with from Community where he's walking in with the boxes of pizza and the apartment's on fire, and you're like, oh, yeah, that was me that day. I felt that in my bones.
I knew that was going to happen. I still really like the graphic I came up with after everything. Yeah. I mean, Neil created the graphic. I just improved upon it.
You did.
So, yeah. Anyway, back to the story. We're not going to talk about Osborn's right now. We will get into that later.
Episodes.
All right. So, May kind of really, she knows she's not supposed to take this tour, but she can't help herself. She's got to figure out what her dad was like at her age. So about 20 minutes into this tour, so I assume they didn't really get that far. Liz Allen just shows up. Speaking of Osborns, Liz Allen shows up and demands Peter's attention because she's very insecure about herself and her crush that she refuses to admit.
Oh, but don't you just love the icicle word balloons from the Ditko era, though? Come on, that's just genius.
I mean, it's Liz.
It's Liz,
It's Liz.
girlfriend number 2. That wasn't a girlfriend unless you watched Spectacular Spider-Man.
They never dated in this world. Liz just wanted it, and Peter was oblivious. So, in any case, when they do that, May ducks into the library and starts getting a feel of the time that she is in and realizes she's not really in an alternative universe as much as she's most definitely in the past, and Spiral messed up somehow that he later blames on her weight, and that's wrong. Spiral.
Bad.
Anyway.
He pays the price for it, though, at least.
He does pay the price later. Anyway, so she comes up with this plan that she's going to follow Peter until he changes into Spider-Man, and then just tell him that she's an alternative Spider-Man and she needs a time machine to get home, and see if he has a friend with a time machine, because that makes sense. It's a solid plan. A+. Not really. Because she forgets that her dad has spider sense. Yeah. So obviously, once she realizes this, she ducks down, thinking that she's gonna, he's gonna lose where she is in that and not see her. But too late, he does. So he changes into Spider-Man very quickly and introduces himself. So he kind of thinks that she's like some crazy super fan or some kind of crazy acrobat imitating him with a marketing scheme. All these superheroes have marketing schemes, but May, I guess.
Peter didn't even have a marketing scheme. Like, they even say like several times throughout the series, "Oh, Peter, he never made any money off that comic book."
Yeah.
I mean, he did. Okay, he did do the Webb's book in the 80s, but
yeah.
But,
in any case, I mean, it's just, I'm just throwing it out there that he kind of is like, "Oh, you must be coming at me with like some marketing deal. Would you take it? I don't think you'd take it, Pete. Like, just let it go. Let that stupid joke go." But yeah, so May tries not to fight, but clearly, like I said, it's the Marvel way. When two superheroes find each other, they've got to fight, especially when they don't understand why they're there. So he thinks that he's she's some crazy cosplayer, but once he sees that she has webs and web shooters, he gets really worried that she might be involved. This might be a little bit more of a sinister plan than just a simple super fan. And before they can take the fight any further, somebody gets mugged down on the street, and Peter runs, and May then runs away because Peter's running to jump in. She runs away, and she's kind of beating herself up about it because she's kind of like, that's not really the hero thing to do. I should have gone in and helped. Not that they needed to spider people to help with a mugging, but she feels pretty bad about it, cowardly. Which I wish she didn't here, because I think she made the right choice to run away, because it was her chance to escape. But she runs off. She goes to Midtown High and falls asleep on top of the lockers in the girls' gym because it's her home away from home. The next day, she goes up to the family home with a new plan of telling Peter that once again she's like an alternative version of Spider-Man and she needs his help. She's greeted by her namesake, none other than Aunt May, when she gets to the door, and she's found out that Peter has gone to the Daily Bugle to sell some photos, but he might be back before school starts. So now we're at the Daily Bugle, where we see Betty and J. Jonah Jameson, where Peter is trying to sell Jonah photos of him helping the mugging victim, And who shows up but none other than Mr. Smythe? There we go. Smythe. Sorry, I don't know why. Smythe with the Spider Slayer. I think it was because I'm pretty sure when I was looking at it, I was like, someone could probably think this looks like Smith.
Yes.
I do it. Anyway, so Smythe shows up with the Spider Slayer.
It looks like a bear.
Does look like a bear.
Yep. So that tells you when this takes place. So you said you're going to move on to issue 11.
Yeah. So Mayday and her aunt. We're not quite done with this issue yet.
Okay, not bad.
Yeah, you're fine. Mayday and her Aunt May talk about Peter and her plans to set him up with Miss Watson over. It looks like tea because it's teacups. I'm gonna say it's coffee for reasons. But over some caffeinated beverages, and Mayday encourages her great aunt to do what she thinks is right because you'll never succeed if you don't keep trying, which is good words to live by. And it kind of helps May get this determination to keep looking for Spiral. So as May changes on the rooftop to work out the logistics of her new plan, her spider sense goes off to reveal the Spider Slayer is about to capture her. And that is the end of issue 10. So now we're on to Spiders, Slayers, and Torches. Oh my.
Slayers, spiders, and torches. Oh my.
So we start exactly where we left off. May is in a bit gives us a bit of a rundown from last issue, and we see her very quickly flee from Jameson's clutches. There's also a really fun joke about the fact that Jameson thinks that, of course, Spider-Man would be a woman to spite him.
It's so stupid, but yeah, I know. Like, it's so in character. That's the problem. It's so stupid, but it's so in character.
Self-absorbed. It's rightfully self-absorbed because that is his character. But of course, they'd be a minority to spite me. Wonder what he has to say about Miles.
Oh no.
For that time frame, I don't want to know.
It's probably best. Anyway, probably best we don't know.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. But yeah, so anyway, as May runs, Johnny sees her swinging through and thinks that it's Peter with a new suit. So he goes in to rub it in his face because, like Dark Devil, Johnny Storm also has no social skills on how to make friends.
That's true.
So,
especially in the 60s.
Yeah, so Johnny sees his guy crush and decides to go up there and try and bro out, but realizes it's not Peter, and then starts to get pretty heated. It was a good pun, you know it. When he realizes that it's not Peter and jumps on the offense to get to the bottom of what's going on with this mysterious Spider Woman, Spider Girl. So
she's a girl who wants her freedom.
Yeah, no, sorry. I was reading the comments and I just see a bunch of oh no's. Yes.
Yeah, you went there.
I went there. It was a good one. Don't hate the player, hate the game of the dad jokes. And so he goes on the offense to figure out the bottom of it. May tries to get away, and we cut to the Spider Slayer has sensed its way to Midtown High, and we see Peter slip out to get away, and then we cut back, May being chased by Johnny, and May quickly figures out a way to slow Storm down by getting him caught in a cable rope and quickly throwing him into some wet cement. So once she does that and slows him down, she goes through an open window into an office building, changes in a closet, and slips out while Johnny's on his rampage. She heads back to the house in Forest Hills, noticing Flash and his buddies waiting outside for some reason. And Aunt May lets her back in, and where she finds Liz, Betty, and her mom.
Mm-hmm.
Crowded house.
Everybody
wants a piece of Peter right now. He's very as much as he likes to say that he wasn't popular, lots of people really wanted his time and attention.
Yeah, so this is definitely, for those that don't understand what issue we're talking about, specifically if you go back and read issue 25 of Amazing Spider-Man, this is when this issue takes place.
Yes. So everyone's at the house, and basically May finds this as an opportunity. Like, she can't pass up this opportunity to talk to her mom, so she's got to do it. And oh my god, why do I keep losing? All right, so eventually Liz and Betty leave, and May gets to hang out with her mom. May is kind of really enjoying it until Mary Jane tells her that she needs to start dressing like a girl, which I get it. Like, I get from the time frame that this is in, but I'm also in this situation of like, by then, like, this would have been a little bit towards the 70s, maybe the 80s, in that kind of time frame. Like the split times. Yeah, so like the t-shirt and the flared jeans would have still worked in that time frame. And Mary Jane finally meets Peter in jeans. So her sitting there basically telling May not to wear jeans because she's a girl is hypocritical.
Well, maybe she was inspired to wear jeans on that first date by May.
Maybe. But May basically gives the dig that she sounds like her mom. And they part ways. So May gets back into her costume to try and find Peter and the Spider Slayer, but no luck. So she decides she's going to just go back on the hunt for Spiral while she's got the time. And Peter finds her, and after he saves himself from the Spider Slayer, and uses her backpack to get a hold of her and resume their fight, because that's what you do as superheroes, is just fight. Peter also calls her, and she's like, "You." She agreed, but my thing is, like, he can't see who, like, what she looks like or who she is, so it's just an obvious dig to like dismantle her anyway for him.
Yes, it's definitely a quip.
Yeah, so it's just a quip, but it does throw May off because she's like, gross. And Peter creates a barricade to corner her to get to the bottom of why she's dressed like him, but May manages to catch him off guard and get away, but is found by Johnny. She then slips away from both of them, and they start chasing her, and as they gain up to her and catch her, an explosion happens in the nick of time. Convenient timing. And she basically explains she knows exactly what's going on, because that is the villain she's been trying to chase down this whole time, because she is from an alternative dimension. And it throws them off, like, what? Like, why didn't you say this sooner? And it's like, maybe if y'all weren't fighting her, she would have explained this, but all right. And they go down and they find Spiral. Spiral is very nonchalant. He does not care about ruining anything about the timeline at all in front of these people.
Yep.
And he's like, good. Now that you're here, we can get back, because I got to get back. So if you want to ride home, let's go. And she's like, no, I got to punch you because you're a villain. Like, she could have listened to him. Like, it's kind of the whole thing in this early set is just the first thing about being a superhero is you punch first and ask questions later. This is what we've learned. So everyone's kind of fighting each other. And as Spiral is explaining himself, May realizes, oh, wait, I've got to I mean, if you're heading back, let's go. So as she joins in to go, she thanks her dad for having faith in her. And that's how she leaves the past. Johnny and Pete definitely did hear it. And this also, too, there's a line in issue 3 with the Fantastic Five where Johnny recognizes her. And, of course, like, you could take it that maybe he recognizes Ben's suit. But you could also take it that he recognizes her from this story, especially because later on in Spider-Verse, this is also brought up again.
Yeah.
It's almost like instead of the past, she more than likely went into 616's past and then came back. Is the way I guess Spider-Verse decided to take it. I don't necessarily hate that idea either. So,
whatever. Yeah. I mean, because there was also that one issue where May goes back in the past and teams up with Aranya and Mayday in the Spider-Man family story that was written by DeFalco and drawn by Ron Lim.
Yeah.
Boy, I pulled that out of thin air, but no. So I mean, this just to kind of go into it, it took me a long time to read this issue. So, and I've read the previous issue, like I say, a ton. But fun fact about issue 10 is that in the letters page, they actually announced Fantastic Five and Wild Thing were the winners.
Yeah.
So, fun fact at that point, that's when they made the announcement for MC2.
Why? Out of all the characters, Wild Thing, guys? Really?
Wolverine syndrome. That's the only thing that I can really think of is Wolverine syndrome. She's close enough to Wolverine. Maybe it'll sell.
No. Anyway.
So, love this story.
We're not quite finished with this story.
Yeah, I forgot. There's 2 last scenes.
Yeah. Let me get through real fast. I know I'm coffee infueled ADHD, guys. I'm very sorry. But I do still think we're doing pretty well at staying on topic for once.
Yes.
In early episodes of Make Mine Mayday, because that's been my big thing, is to try and keep us on track.
Tell us what you think in the comments.
Yeah. Let me know. Let us know so we can get better and make a better show for you guys. So anyway, so she gets back to her time. She immediately kicks Spiral in the face before he can start over and get back to his world. And she heads back to school thinking it's only about an hour from the time that they left, according to Spiral. It was more like the whole afternoon, and she's in trouble, but she could not be more thankful because it has in her time, it's been 2 days. So she is just thankful that she is in her home. She is in her right place in her right time with her friends and her family. She runs home. She asks her mom if they can go shopping, which her mom is like, what? Because they don't have the same style. And even her mom's like, you hate what? But, May is just so thankful and just wants to spend time with them. And then runs to her dad, hugs her, and just says, I hope that I can, keep, basically she just wants to make sure she feels worthy and of the faith he has in her as Spider-Girl. And her parents are very much confused and going, is this a pod person? Are we sure this is May? What happened? And that is the end. And now to your thoughts, because I know I'm going to agree with everything you say, that I literally, in my opinions, I just went, these issues are super cute. We'll probably agree with Zach on everything.
Yes, I actually see that in the notes. When I read it earlier, I was like, I kind of skimmed through it, and then I saw that. I was like, oh, that's cute. Yeah. So look, love the artwork. This definitely feels like an untold tale of Spider-Man. Love the use of the continuity, and very few Spider-Man writers could pull this off, and I think Tom DeFalco was the right guy for this issue. However, there's a bit of continuity error, and Vinkman pointed out in our comments. So in ASM 25, Peter sacrifices his Spidey suit to escape the Spider Slayer, like it happened in this issue. Aunt May then found his spare suit and refuses to give it back because he used the excuse that it's a blanket. I wear it underneath my clothes. And she's like, get rid of this horrid thing. And then, throws it out. So you could say that he has 3 suits, not just 2. But
well, I also want to point out, though, too, especially during the time that this was written, if she's going back to her past, like her world's past,
yeah,
it can be different because it is not the 616, it's 982. So it is a different world. It's just once you start getting into the wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey aspect of future issues from Spider-Verse where they're trying to pull from this issue in particular, it gets a little weird. And then 2, in general, there is
you could argue that she goes back to her past in this issue, and then in the issue with Spider-Man Family,
yeah,
she goes back to the 616, and that's an easy way to explain that continuity error. But we are splitting hairs. I loved this. Again, I read the crap out of this issue. This is one of my favorite issues, just in general. Despite the insistence of John and the poisoning of it with John Byrne throughout with all the Spider-Man parts, because this is during the time of the reboot, for those that don't know. But no, great issues. I really liked the milk ads. Take me back to that time when they used to do the milk ads. I know I talk about ads a lot when I'm going through the floppies, but love this issue, and I love how Peter in the end, says there's something about this girl that I just can't put my finger on, but I know I can trust her. And
even MJ was like, you seem familiar to me, which, I kind of especially like, I like here, like where, as they're trying to get May's look down, because I think they finally figured out what really works for May. Although some coloring changes happen later on, but
yes.
Here where it's like even MJ and May here look a lot alike. And of course, when Ron starts drawing her, she looks, dead ringer. For Mary Jane. And so that's kind of the situation of like, yeah, she notices that like she looks like her, but it's not necessarily in her face. But there's a familiar, like she still looks familiar. She still looks, she looks like a friendly face to them. And I think that like they can kind of just sense that she is.
Yeah.
She doesn't really mean any harm, which is the only part that's silly about like Pete trying to fight her. But young Pete also this is very much young Peter from high school era. This is to the as Neil said in the comments, incel Pete.
God. Neil,
okay.
Why?
He's not quite red pill.
Okay.
Not quite red pill here. He's not Jimmy.
Yeah.
But it is close. Like he is very close-minded, kind of sexist, which was just of the time anyway, though. Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
But I also too know I that he's saying these things to throw May off. Like this is still him. He's Pete like young Pete as Spider-Man in his high school time. It was very much like closed off, still closed-minded, but very kind of sheepish Pete versus chauvinistic, overly confident when he speaks Spider-Man. So that's kind of where I think that they were going with this. But I don't know. I really enjoy these issues, but I'm glad to be back in May's time. For me personally, like this was cute, but I'm glad to be back in her time.
Yeah, I 100% agree. 100% agree. So, if we want to go through the comments right quick.
Yeah, guys. So that's kind of it for this episode. It was a lot. I mean, we are at 2 hours and 24 minutes. So, oh my goodness. So long episode. I want to try and do 2 hours, but we got off topic. We had a lot of fun. That's okay.
Yes.
I do want to mention, again, like, as you guys, if y'all want to write up some final questions for us, I want to mention again that we are going to do fan panels. So the next 2 review episodes are going to be a next, which is we're going to record on Monday. And Zach, you're going to take the lead on those reviews, right? That was the plan. And then I'm going to take the lead on J2, which will be basically will be the week after that. No, we're going to do the fan panel for A next after that. So that's going to be around the 5th. We're planning for February 5th. So if you guys want to join in, I need some A next super fans so we can talk about A next. And then after that, which is going to be around the week of the February 8th, by like 8th through the 14th sometime, we're going to do J2. I'm going to take the lead on that review. And then somewhere around the weekend of the 19th, February 19th, we're going to do J2's fan panel. And, you know, we'll all get together and figure out a solution to get the rest of J2 on Marvel Unlimited.
Yes. That is the plan.
Yes.
So we'll definitely kind of, as our bigger schedule kind of comes out, we'll definitely kind of slot everybody and let everybody know on our social medias where everything's going to be at and get everything confirmed. And if we have to move things around, we will and go from there. So yeah, we're really excited. Great episode, guys. Sorry for the technical difficulties for those that were watching on the YouTube. Hopefully if you're listening on the audio, it's going to be just fine. So yeah, we figured out the problem and I apologize. So sorry that it was creating feedback unnecessarily through y'all.
We are still learning and we're still working on stuff. So, you know, bear in mind, I think, I think I was going to say, bear in mind, this is the 4th recording, but technically the 3rd episode of Make My Mayday. A lot of times with newer podcasts, you really don't get into the feel of everything and kind of work out your kinks until around the 5th or 6th episode. So we are still working on that. And that's one reason why we do really need your feedback. We need reviews, we need comments, just kind of what you guys want to hear, how you guys like the format. That's one reason we're switching off, because I know I heard people sent me DMs about how the last review, Zach was overzealous and kind of skipped over me a little bit. And,
which wasn't.
Yeah, and we've gotten some things about the last episode with the interview with Pat about how it's a great conversation, but not necessarily the best interview. Which again, to preface that's from excitement, but we are doing our best to get over that, because we're fans, we're nerds, we were just excited to hang out, and we are getting better. So
absolutely,
we'll work on it. So it's okay, but that's kind of why we're gonna try and do the switch off between reviews of leading. It also helps us even out the work a little bit.
Yeah, that way somebody's not doing all the reviews and stuff like that. So we'll like I say, leave us some feedback. You can leave us emails at makemymayday@gmail.com or SpideyDudeRadioNetwork@gmail.com as well. Or you can leave us a voicemail. Leave us some feedback there, 818-925.
I have a challenge.
What's the challenge? Do it.
We did have J. Jonah Jameson in the last 2 issues. Why don't you guys leave us your best J. Jonah Jameson impression on the voice?
Yeah, do it, and we will play it on the show. It is possible, and we won't
if it's worthy.
If it's worthy, yeah. We might do the worthy voicemails during the show, and then maybe in the post show we'll do the unworthy ones. But yeah, leave us your best. Do your best PS4 Spidey J. Jonah Jameson impression of this show, and heck, do it for the rest of the shows. That'd be kind of fun to play on Spidey Dude Experience or Spectacular Radio. We are looking for that feedback on that show as we wrap that up, as well as Clone Saga Chronicles. So. Yeah, with that, I think that wraps up this one pretty well. We'll go through and do any last minute comments.
Yeah, I think we just have Vinkman has a question, has a possible Patreon exclusive suggestion. But yeah, definitely just hit us up on the Discord or message us.
Discord. I'll make sure that the link's on the front page, and we'll get that done. So
yeah, yeah, all right. If you guys, last call, any questions about this episode or comments,
concerns?
Yeah,
even that too.
Yeah. I promise you, I will not finish the rest of the coffee, at least without some food in me, because I'm definitely like this right now.
Yeah,
I need to go swing through downtown on my own web shooters and get burn off some of this caffeinated energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if nobody leaves us any feedback, then I'm going to kind of go into the outro, I suppose.
I think so. So yeah. Also, too, let us know how you guys like the outro song. We are still looking for a good intro song.
Yeah.
I haven't found anything that we are free to use that feels like Mayday to me. So if you guys know of anything that is free of use, like free of copyright, free to use, let us know.
Yeah. Definitely. Let us know. Send us a PM on our DMs, and we'll do that. So, like I say, thank you again for watching and listening. If you're listening to us, you can always find us on the help support the site with patreon.com/crawlspace. Crawlspace. Wow. Patreon.com/Spidey Network. That was a Freudian slip. You can help out Crawlspace too. I don't care. But patreon.com/Spidey Network. The voicemail line, of course, is 818-925-6631. Just be sure to leave it under 3 minutes because it will cut you off. But if you decide to leave multiple voicemails, I will stitch them together and play them all at the same time. So yeah, patreon.com/Spidey Network. Thanks again to Vinkman for being such a great member of the Patreon community and being our first patron. Thank you so much for all the help you do for the site and all the promotion you do for the site as well. So a very special thing that we will have coming. Some more Patreon exclusive stuff's coming, whether it be Spidey Dude Experience or Make Mine Mayday or Spectacular Radio.
Let us know what Patreon exclusive you want with Make Mine Mayday.
Absolutely. So yeah, like I say, leave us an email, makeminemayday@gmail.com or SpideyDudeRadioNetwork@gmail.com. So thanks again for listening, and we will see you guys next time here on Make